In this example, we're going to look at a counting loop. Now, almost every language provides the ability to do a counting loop, and they almost all use the same or very similar syntax. So we're going to look at a for loop for doing counting. To start with, we're going to specify for, and we need a variable name. Now, typically, the variable we use to count with is going to be something simple. For historical reasons, a lot of times people use I, J, or K, even if they were never around for when those historical purposes were. So just as a nod to them, we're going to use I as our variable name for our counter. So you have for I in, and then we're going to specify a range. You'll notice that my range is inside of square brackets, and I have 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I could have put strings in here and had gone through that as well. But I just want to look at using these range of numbers right now. I'm going to print I. And when I get done with my for loop, I'm going to give a little print saying I'm exiting the app. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go into my console and run my file. You'll notice that it specifies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each on its own line. I don't have to worry about incrementing that. The for loop will automatically do this for me. Now, this is a big change from when we used a while loop and had to manually increment our counter. In this case, it's all being done for us, and it's why we want to use the right command in the right instance. Now, this works good for something small, but what happens if we had a lot of numbers? I had 10, 15, 100, 500 numbers. This would be a real challenge to implement. So let's look at a way that we're going to get around that. I'm going to say this is a B version. You're going to take what's in our square brackets and delete it. You're going to type in range 5. I'm going to save this real quick. And when I run loops 3B, you'll notice it gives me something very similar. There are a couple of minor differences. First off, range is going to start at a base 0. So where I put in a range, I can start whatever I want. The second thing is the 5 tells me how many elements I'm running. So it's going from 0 to 4. Now, range actually allows me a couple different parameters. By default, if I only have one, it gives me the size of the range I'm going to create. If I modify range and say 1, 5, this is going to specify where my start is. Now you'll notice that once again, it stops one element before it gets to 5. So I always want to make sure that my element is going to be one more than what I need to display. But this gives me 1 to 4. If I want to change this to be 1 to 5, I'll need to put in 1, 6. I could also make another change. I'm going to put in a much larger number. However, I can implement a step. And a step says instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, it allows me to count by 2s, 3s, or any other number I want based upon this step. So now, even though I run from 1 to 50, I'm starting with a step of 5. This allows me to run an increment by 5 each one. So I start at 1, 6, 11, 16, etc. So this is a quick, easy way if I had to deal with a lot of numbers, or if I didn't want to count by ones or anything like that, I can use the range command in order to be much more efficient with how I write my counting loops inside of Python. Now, while I can print out I can do other things with it as well. So I'm going to make just a couple of minor changes. I'm going to specify a tab character. And then I want to show you, instead of just using I as a way to display a number, I can do something else with it. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a square. This way I get a number and it's square. Let's run our file again. You'll see it shows 1 and the square of 1 is 1, 2 square, which is 4, and it goes on. The \T is a tab character. It simply creates a little bit of space. That way, if I have larger numbers, my columns stay aligned until I break past that tab spacing. And so that's how I can use a for loop to be a lot more efficient with creating a counting loop.